You know what's wild? Last week I watched my friend Jake complain about being broke while spending $30 on Uber Eats. Again. And I did the math in my head, and I'm like, dude, that's literally $120 a week, which is $640 a year, which at a 10% return pounded over 10 years is $102,312. You just Uber Eats it away 100 grand, and he looked at me like I was crazy. But here's the thing, he's not alone. Most people think small money doesn't matter, and that's exactly why they stay broke. My name is Oric, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people sabotage their own wealth with tiny decisions they don't even notice. If you're someone who feels like you're making okay money but somehow never getting ahead, or you keep telling yourself, I'll start investing when I have more, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, I'm going to show you something today that's going to completely change how you think about small amounts of money. We're talking about turning $100 a week into legitimate wealth. Not get-rich-quick nonsense. Not some crypto scheme, just pure mathematical reality that most people are too impatient to understand. Here's what most people don't realize. The difference between being financially comfortable and being perpetually stressed isn't usually about your income. A study from the Federal Reserve in 2023 found that 37% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense. 37%. But here's where it gets interesting. When they broke down the income levels, they found people making $75,000 a year had almost the same problem as people making $40,000. The issue wasn't the money coming in, it was the complete lack of a system for the money going out. Now you might be thinking, Oric, $100 a week? I don't have an extra $100 a week. And I'm going to challenge that assumption really hard in a minute. But first, let me show you what $100 a week actually becomes, because I promise you, nobody showed you this math in school. If you take a $100 every single week and invest it in a basic S&P 500 index fund, which historically returns about 10% annually, here's what happens. After 1 year, you've got $5,200 plus about $280 in returns. Cool. Not life-changing. After 5 years, you're sitting at $33,800. Okay, that's a decent emergency fund. After 10 years, I'd see $86,400. Now we're talking. After 20 years, $315,000. After 30 years, $935,000. After 40 years, $2.8 million. Let me say that again. $100 a week, which is less than most people spend on random stuff they don't even remember buying, becomes $2.8 million. That's the power of compound interest that Albert Einstein supposedly called the eighth wonder of the world, and whether he actually said that or not, he should have, because it's absolutely true. But here's the thing that nobody talks about. The real magic isn't just in the compound interest. It's in what I call the psychological compound effect. Every single week that you do this, you're not just building wealth, you're rewiring your brain's relationship with money. You're proving to yourself that you're the kind of person who builds wealth. And that identity shift, that's worth more than the money itself. Here's what I mean. There's this concept in behavioral economics called mental accounting that basically explains why we're all idiots with money. We put money into different mental buckets and treat it completely differently based on which bucket it's in. So that $100 you got from your birthday, that's fun money. The $100 you earned from overtime, that's bill money. The $100 tax refund, that's treat yourself money. It's all the same money, but we act like it's different. The snowball method destroys this mental accounting nonsense. Every week, $100 goes into the wealth bucket, period. Doesn't matter where it came from, doesn't matter what else is happening. This is where most people mess up. They try to invest what's left over at the end of the month. You know what's left over at the end of the month? Nothing. There's never anything left over. That's called Parkinson's law applied to personal finance. Expenses expand to meet income. Now let's talk about where you're actually going to find this $100, because I know some of you are still thinking you don't have it. I'm going to be real with you. You do have it. You're just spending it on things you don't value, and I can prove it. The average American spends $164 a month on subscription services, according to a 2024 survey. That's $38 a week right there. And here's the kicker. The same survey found that people underestimate what they spend on subscriptions by about 40%. So it's probably more like $230 a month. Then there's food delivery, $200 a month average. Impulse purchases at Target or Amazon, another $150 to $300 a month for most people. Coffee shop visits, $100 to $150 a month. We're not even talking about the big stuff yet. Look, I'm not saying don't enjoy your life. I'm saying be conscious about what you're trading. Every dollar you spend today is about $7 you won't have in retirement because of lost compound growth. So that $6 latte isn't just $6. It's $42 in 30 years. Are you okay with that trade? Maybe you are. Maybe that latte brings you genuine joy and it's worth $42 of future wealth. That's totally fine. But I bet there's at least $100 a week you're spending on stuff that brings you approximately zero joy, and you wouldn't even remember buying it next week. Here's your homework for this week, and I'm serious about this. Track every single dollar for 7 days. Not to judge yourself, not to feel bad, just to know. Download an app, keep a note in your phone, whatever. Just write down every single purchase. At the end of the week, highlight everything you bought that you honestly don't care about. I guarantee you'll find way more than $100. Now here's where. Now, this gets really interesting. The snowball method isn't just about the $100 you invest every week. It's about the momentum. See, there's this thing in physics called the Flywheel Effect. It takes a ton of energy to get a heavy flywheel moving, but once it's spinning, it takes very little energy to keep it going, and it builds more and more momentum. Your wealth building is exactly the same. The first few weeks of investing $100 feels hard. You're going to want to skip a week. You're going to have an excuse. Your car needs new tires. Your friend is getting married. You deserve a break. Whatever. But if you push through, something incredible happens around week 12. You look at your account and you've got $200 plus a bit of growth, and your brain suddenly clicks. You're like, oh, this is real. I'm actually doing this. And then it gets easier. By week 26, you've got $20,600 in some growth, and you start getting excited to add more money. You start looking for ways to add extra to your weekly investment. You sell some stuff you don't use. You pick up a side project. You negotiate a raise. This is the psychological compound effect I mentioned. You're becoming a different person. And here's what most people don't realize about compound interest. It's boring as hell for the first few years, and then it gets absolutely wild, like mathematically wild. In year 1 of your $100 weekly investment, you make about $280 in returns. Okay, cool. In year 10, you make about $7,800 in returns just that year. In year 20, you make about $28,000 in returns just that year. In year 30, you make about $85,000 in returns just that year. You're making more money from your money than most people make from their jobs. But here's the part that's going to blow your mind. The majority of your total wealth accumulation happens in the last third of your investing timeline. So if you invest for 30 years, about 60% of your total wealth gets built in years 21 through 30. That is because compound interest is exponential, not linear. Your brain doesn't naturally understand exponential growth. We're wired to think linearly. This is why people quit too early. They invest for 2 years, they've got $11,000, and they're like, this is pointless. I'll never be wealthy at this rate. But they don't understand. They're still in the slow part. They're still getting the flywheel spinning. If they just kept going, years 15 through 30 would absolutely change their life. Now, let me address the biggest objection I know some of you have. Oric, what about debt? Shouldn't I pay off my credit cards first? And look, if you've got credit card debt at 24% interest, yeah, that's mathematically your best return. Pay that off first. But here's the thing, do both. Find $50 a week for debt, $50 a week for investing. Here's why. If you wait until you're completely debt-free to start investing, you might never start. Life always has something. There's always another expense, another emergency, another reason to wait. Plus, there's a psychological benefit to seeing your investment account grow while you're paying off debt. It keeps you motivated. It reminds you that you're building toward something, not just digging out of a hole. The people who successfully build wealth don't wait for perfect conditions. They start with imperfect action. Here's another thing. The snowball method works because it's automatic and it's consistent. You're not trying to time the market. You're not waiting for the right moment. You're not checking the news to see if you should invest this week. Every single week, $100 goes in. Market up? Invest $100. Market down? Invest $100. Market crashing? Invest $100. Recession? Invest $100. This is called dollar cost averaging, and it's literally the most proven strategy for regular people to build wealth. When the market's high, your $100 buys fewer shares. When the market's low, your $100 buys more shares. Over time, you average out the price and remove all the emotional decision-making that destroys most people's returns. Studies show that the average investor gets returns of about 4% to 5%, even though the market returns 10%, because they buy high when they're excited and sell low when they're scared. The snowball method makes you immune to this stupidity. Let me tell you about my friend Sarah. 3 years ago, she was making $52,000 a year, had $8,000 in credit card debt, and literally told me investing was for rich people. I showed her this exact method. She committed to $75 a week because that's what she could realistically do. She set up an automatic transfer every Friday morning to a Roblox account, and she promised herself she wouldn't touch it. Year 1, she missed a few weeks. She felt guilty, but she kept going. Year 2, she didn't miss a single week. She actually started adding extra money when she could. Year 3, which is now, she's got $13,500 in her investment account, her credit cards are paid off, and she just texted me last week saying she felt rich for the first time in her life. Not because $13,500 is rich, but because she proved to herself that she's capable of building wealth. Her identity changed. That's the real transformation. Here's the specific action plan. Step 1. Open a brokerage account if you don't have one. Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, whatever. They're all fine. Takes 10 minutes. Step 2. Set up automatic weekly transfers of $100 from your checking account to your brokerage. Friday mornings work great because you've just been paid. Step 3. Invest that money in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Vanguard's VOO, Fidelity's FXAX, whatever your brokerage offers. Expense ratio should be under 0.1%. Step 4. Literally forget about it. Don't check it every day. Don't panic when the market drops. Just let it compound. That's it. 4 steps. Not complicated. But here's the thing. Simple doesn't mean easy. You're going to be tempted to skip weeks. You're going to want to use that money for other stuff. You're going to doubt whether this is working. That's normal. The difference between people who build wealth and people who don't isn't intelligence or income. It's consistency. It's the ability to do the boring thing over and over even when you don't feel like it. And look, maybe $100 a week is legitimately too much for you right now. That's okay. Start with $50. Start with $25. The habit matters more than the amount at the beginning. Once the flywheel is spinning, once you've proven to yourself that you can do this, you'll find ways to increase it. But you've got to start today, this week. Not when you get a raise, not when you pay off your debt, not when conditions are perfect. Now. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Same thing with investing. If you're watching this at age 25, you've got 40 years of compound growth ahead of you. That $100 a week becomes $2.8 million. If you're 35, you've got 30 years. That's $935,000. If you're 45, you've got 20 years. That's $315,000. Even if you're 55 with 10 years until retirement, that's still $86,000 more than you'd have if you didn't start. Stop waiting. Stop making excuses. Stop telling yourself you don't have the money. You have the money. You're just spending it on stuff that doesn't matter. Decide right now that you're going to be the kind of person who builds wealth. Set up that automatic transfer. Invest that first $100 this week, and then do it again next week, and the week after that. Because that's how regular people become millionaires. Not through luck, not through some secret strategy. Through boring, consistent, automatic investing over time. The snowball starts with a $100. but it ends with financial freedom. It ends with options. It ends with not being stressed about money. It ends with being able to help your family. It ends with retiring with dignity. That's what's on the other side of this decision. So make the decision, start the snowball. Your future self is going to thank you.